Cameras were rolling. Studio lights were bright. The whole place was full of energy. Millions of people were watching live. But no one, absolutely no one, saw what was coming next. Denzel Washington, known for his calm, his strength, and his steady presence both on and off screen, sat quietly for a moment. His face showed it. He was shaken. His lips trembled a little. His voice, usually so strong, broke. And then, in a moment that would spread across the internet in minutes, Denzel Washington broke down and cried live on television. But what made this rare, powerful moment happen? Just a phone call. One unexpected call from thousands of miles away. It was from Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the young revolutionary leader and president of Burkina Faso. The show had started like any normal interview. Denzel was there to promote his latest project. Film about leadership, integrity, and sacrifice. The chat was light. They talked about his career, his family, and the meaning behind movies like Glory, Training Day, and Fences. Then the host paused, looked straight at the camera and said, "Denzel, we've got a special surprise for you. Someone who's been inspired by your work and whose work you might find inspiring too wanted to say something. Please stay with us." What happened next gave everyone goosebumps. On the screen appeared Captain Ibrahim Traoré, calm, humble, and dressed in a simple military uniform with the Burkina Faso flag behind him. He didn't speak like a politician. He spoke like a man moved by another man's spirit. "Brother Denzel," he began with quiet respect, "you don't know me, but your work has been a guiding light, not just for me, but for millions of Africans who believe in truth, justice, and the dignity of every person." Denzel's eyes widened. You could see the surprise, the curiosity. He leaned forward slightly, listening closely. Traoré continued, his voice steady and sincere. "When I was younger, trying to understand the weight of responsibility, the burden of leadership, in a world that doesn't always reward doing the right thing, I watched you. I watched how you carried yourself, not just in your movies, but in real life. How you stood for what's right, even when it wasn't easy." The studio went completely silent. You could hear a pin drop. Denzel's shoulders shook slightly. He took a deep breath. But Traoré wasn't done yet. It wasn't just praise. It was a message, a reminder. We can lead too. We can rise too. We can stand against corruption, neo-colonialism, and fear. Traoré's voice echoed. In Africa, Denzel's words had traveled far beyond cities and villages, even into rebel-held areas. To them, he wasn't just an actor. He was a symbol. A face of defiance. A voice of moral clarity. And that's when it happened. Tears welled up in Denzel Washington's eyes. The same man who had always spoken about emotional control broke down. His voice cracked as he tried to speak. This moment, I don't even know what to say," Denzel muttered. And then, on live TV, Traoré did something rare. He stood up on camera, placed his hand on his chest and said, "Thank you, from Africa, from the youth, from the freedom fighters. Thank you, Denzel Washington, for reminding us of our worth." The screen faded. The studio was completely silent. No one moved. Denzel wiped his eyes, trying to gather himself. Finally, he spoke. "You never know, you just never know who's watching. You just hope you're doing something good with the gifts you've been given." But what most people watching didn't realize, this moment wasn't random. It was years in the making, because Denzel Washington has always been more than just an actor. Off-screen, he's known for his work in education, black empowerment, and faith. He's quietly funded scholarships. He's visited inner-city schools. He's even paid for young actors to study abroad, all without seeking attention or headlines. But over the last few years, Denzel's words about discipline, moral responsibility, and standing firm have found new ground, not just in the U.S., but across Africa. And nowhere have they resonated more than in Burkina Faso. The same place where Ibrahim Traoré has led a different kind of revolution. At just 34 years old, Traoré became Africa's youngest head of state in 2022 after coup that removed the previous military government. But unlike so many who chase power for their own benefit, Traoré shocked the world. He removed French troops. He cut ties with old colonial systems. He stood up to big corporations exploiting Africa's resources. His speeches? Yes, they were fiery. But they carried a rhythm, a moral clarity that reminded people of voices like Malcolm X, Thomas Sankara, and Kwame Nkrumah. And yes, of Denzel Washington. Insiders say Traoré had admired Denzel for years. They say he watched Malcolm X dozens of times, memorizing the speeches word for word. In his military barracks, he would often gather young soldiers, and he would show them clips of Denzel's old interviews talking about faith, integrity, and staying true to your path, even when it's hard. So no, that phone call wasn't some publicity stunt. It was a full circle moment where one man's words and work inspired another man's courage to lead. And it all happened live in front of the whole world. After the show, social media exploded. Clips of Denzel's emotional reaction were everywhere. Young Africans posted videos with hashtags like "Thank you Denzel" and "Africa salutes you." Even Western media couldn't ignore it. Headlines popped up saying, "Denzel Washington brought to tears by African leaders' surprise tribute. Hollywood meets revolution," the moment that stunned America. But beyond the headlines, something deeper happened. In classrooms from Harlem to Harare, students started having real conversations about leadership. Real leadership. Because courage doesn't always show up wearing a fancy suit or holding a mic. Sometimes it wears a military uniform. Sometimes it's hidden in a movie scene that wakes something up inside you. Sometimes it's the simple power of a story that lights a fire in a whole generation. For Denzel, that moment changed him too. In an interview a few days later, he reflected quietly, "We act like we're just entertainers. But storytelling? It's sacred. That's how civilizations pass down their values. And when someone tells you your story gave them the strength to stand tall, that's a responsibility you can't take lightly." He paused, looked directly at the camera, and added, "Ibrahim Traoré didn't just thank me. He reminded me why I do what I do. And I'll carry that reminder with me for the rest of my life. There are moments that go beyond fame, beyond politics, beyond the screen." That moment between Denzel and Traoré, it was one of them. It wasn't about celebrity or power. It was about connection. Two men from completely different worlds standing on the same truth. Since then, reports say Denzel has started talks with filmmakers and African artists to work on a project that highlights African resistance and leadership. He's also announced plans to visit Burkina Faso next year, a move that has already sparked hope and excitement among young people and creatives across the continent. Meanwhile, Ibrahim Traoré's government has introduced curated film screenings showing inspiring movies, including Denzel's work as part of youth leadership programs. His message to the youth is simple: see yourself in greatness, and let that vision guide your life. So next time you think a movie is just entertainment, remember this: sometimes a performance becomes a message. Sometimes a scene awakens a soul. And sometimes a man sitting quietly in front of a camera receives a call that touches the heart of a whole generation. Denzel Washington cried that day, not from sadness but from the overwhelming feeling that maybe, just maybe, his purpose had been fulfilled. And in that moment, millions cried with him. Do you believe a story in a single moment can change someone's life? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want to hear more real, powerful stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. See you in the next one.